record. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Okay. So it's not lost on me how much work this stuff. You don't need to be so intimate, Zoom. Um, that's better. It's not lost on me how much work this all is, how much brain work mostly it is, right? Um, I know I go kind of fast because I show you the technical part because the technical part is really not what's the hardest part. It's the thinking. It's the thinking of what things look like, and that's most of the work. That part gets a lot easier the more you do it. Like if you guys were going to model a bust again, you'd probably be twice as fast as you were when you first started, when you first did it. If you did a hand again, I bet you would get through the high poly today if I asked you to do it. You'd blah, blah, and then you did and you'd sculpt it. You could that's how much growth you make just after this very first one. So I know that these things take time. Um, the reason I'm bringing it up is because rather than like rush you really hard, I've let it take more time, and that means we have less time for the final. So what we're going to do is we're going to take as much time as we need to finish this hand correctly and well. And then with whatever time we have left, we will agree on a scope of what is a doable final asset for you. Originally, I had pitched, because that was the goal, was to have you do a still life of like 3 to 5 assets with various complicated material types like transparencies and subsurface scattering. But I think that if we get 2 weeks, that's a lot of assets to model. So you're just getting it. I'm getting it on recording, getting it on recording. That I am not going to force you to do that much work in less time that we had originally planned. It's not really reasonable. So after the hand, we'll talk about what a scope really looks like, and we're going to agree as a group of what we think is too much. Half the time, you guys are worse about it than the teachers in terms of giving you work. Like, if I was going to give you 3 or 5 assets, I'm already telling you right now that's too much. And if I put it in your hands, you'd be like, well, I'll just model a city, a whole city. And I've seen it. I've seen the scope problem creep real fast. So if anything, I'll probably scale you guys back on what you want to do. So the final, whatever we decide it's going to be, we're all going to agree it's not going to be too much before we leave. Maybe if we even get to it today, which probably not, because we've got to finish up the hand. But by the time end of day on Tuesday, you will feel really comfortable with what we're going to accomplish for your final asset. Anybody playing around with what you would want to model with all this new material knowledge? Like what you'd want to do? No? Just thinking about hands? Just dreaming and eating and breathing and sleeping about hands? Okay, then maybe now is not the time to talk about the final. Got it, got it, got it. Okay, why don't we pull up our hand models into Maya's? Um, and before I get too in the weeds about it, what, how has the material pass been going for you? How's that going? Is that was the one that was due before class today, was the material substance painter. Man, I've got like a bunch of hands in here. Is this the right one? Is this it? Yeah, I think this is it. This is one of them. Yeah, there's one of them. Okay, this is the one I showed you guys. This is where we were at. Ah, I did that wrong. I actually turned off the thing. Is it coming back? All right, we're gonna pause this because you guys will just hear me struggle on the recording. Um, through this part, where did some of us get stuck? Where were we lost? I know some of you were like, this isn't working right. I got a couple of you giving me questions. I can always count on you guys for the good questions. Yes. You, you kept getting seams after you baked your model in the high poly. Okay, let's talk about seams for a second. Let me also turn on, I'm gonna just Add a black mask. Not a black mask. Add a fill layer. And we're just going to turn off subsurface scattering. No scatter. Okay. So you're getting seams, and I mean, I might even have some seams here, especially if it's like right about here. It's usually where you make the cuts, right? Okay. So if you're having a really egregious seam, I have a seam, but you can't really tell. So I'm actually concerned if the seam is showing up in a different layer for you. So what I do is I just kind of start at the top and see if anything is really giving the seam problem. I notice that most of the time it's in a height channel. If the height is a lot higher in that particular layer, it will really exacerbate a seam on that. Um, then what I'll do is if there is something, let's say the skin here, it's this one. Yeah, this guy. Check the material properties right here. And if you see, let's see, a UV wrap repeat, projection, instead of UV projection, try triplanar. Triplanar will project it on all three angles or all three axes and then do a fade blend to each one so you don't have a hard line. That was something we covered kind of briefly in the Captain Picard statue one where you got that really nasty seam in the back of his head. That's the magic setting that will usually fix that. So try those two things to see if it's a layer problem on a particular material, like base material possibly. Um, and then also check to see if the triplanar projection resolves that for you. And if it's still a problem, see me, maybe we can troubleshoot a problem with the bake. Maybe the bake was off or something was funky. But those are usually the obvious culprits. Good question. Toshi, you had a question? Oh, you got it? Fingernails. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if the low poly doesn't match the silhouette very well, you're more likely to have more artifacts. In mine, I actually created the nails separate, but something that like is a little unintuitive, if you don't bake it by mesh map or by mesh name and bake it all together, it usually makes a pretty decent seamless transition from the nail part to the hand itself. And you can just kind of like by hand mask where is needed. Like notice how it baked the finger on my nails. Keeping them separate will work really well if you are perfect on the balance between the two pieces and how they intersect. But I wasn't perfect, and I doubt you were too. However, that looks pretty good on the model, especially when you zoom out to what it will actually look like back here. So try that. Or if you just have a single mesh for the whole thing, what you might need to do is just add a little bit more geometry to hug the nail asset a little bit better. And I'll come around and see if I can pinpoint where exactly the setting might be hurting you. You're welcome. Yes. Oh, that is interesting. It looks like the scattering is weird. Yeah, your subsurface scattering got weird. Okay. So then for this guy here, we don't do it to the scattering though. Oh, don't change that. This should be UV. But also this is kind of a problem. That's the scattering map. Oh, you used ambient occlusion. Well, that's part of it. We don't want ambient occlusion. We want thickness. Oop. And then I'm gonna delete this for a moment. Oh, how strange. Shouldn't be tiling at all. So it shouldn't be tiling. And offset should be 0. So okay, rotation 0. Okay, now that's correct. If I add the filter here to invert it. Now it should at least invert correctly. I mean, you did do inverting well, like that was correct. I'll use the filter. Thank you. And then we'll use invert. There we go. Now, there you go. Hands look like hands. Okay. Yeah, it's just a couple settings, monkey. All right. I saw somebody else's hand. Yeah. Well, we're not going to animate it in Unreal. It's a little, that would be probably a good module of that interface. But we are going to rig it and pose it in Maya so you get the sense of like the beginning of rigging and paint and weight painting. But you're like not far from being able to animate it. If you were to import your mesh with the bones, you could technically animate it in Unreal. And I think I'm going to offer extra credit to anybody who gets their hands moving in any way in Unreal at all. Like if you go on your own and like, I did a few more steps and you were able to do it, I would absolutely give you some extra credit for that. But at the scope of the assignment, no. And I can help you with animating in Unreal. It's just that Unreal has kind of a philosophy of we really want you to do it our way for the most seamless. So if you want the animations and the animation packs and the various like things within Unreal to work more seamlessly, what you would ideally want to do is find an Unreal rig, a standard Unreal rig, which you can just export out of an Unreal project, bring that into Maya, and then paint the weights of that thing onto your hand. But what we didn't do yet, because we're just starting off as baby illustrators and artists, we didn't pose the hand to match the rig. So you would have to do a little bit more work around that. It's still possible. You could still do it. It's not hard conceptually. It's just time consuming. So right now we're just going to start with a rig and weight painting. We're going to pose it, and that's what we're going to bring into Unreal for now. Man, you guys are so close to being like really dangerous with animation stuff. Okay. All right. Any other questions on your stuff? Okay. Well, how many of you are ready to rig your hand? One. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you all work. I'm going to do a rigging demonstration for you while you guys work. And then either later today, I will do another one recorded. Or we wrap on Tuesday, but I want you finished because you could keep moving on your final. All right. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. Sound good? Sound good? No press? All right. Don't work stressed. Bad for your health. I should wear jammies more often, huh? Oh, that reminds me.